Funding for NEOtropolis has been provided by the following.
Hello, I'm Lester Lefton. Kent State University is proud to sponsor NEOtropolis, a program that looks at the forces that impact the region. Kent State is one of those forces. As a center of educational excellence and as an economic development engine, our efforts at Kent State have a powerful and positive impact on the region through research and development, the arts and innovation, and preparing our graduates to compete in the global marketplace. I hope you enjoy the program, and I invite you to learn more about Kent State University.
The John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, supporting transformational ideas that promote informed and engaged communities.
Hello, and welcome to NEOtropolis, the show about the forces of technology, globalization, diversity, how they affect our lives right here in Northeast Ohio. I'm Luke Frazier. Tonight, we're going to talk about local food and food and foodie focus. We're going to illustrate the impact of technology on how we live and play and cook and dine. We're going to visit a chef who combines seeds, pots and pans, and tweet decks in one simple kitchen. And then we're going to follow the flow of nitrogen into tasty soups in Akron and talk food culture with Dr. Dave. You know, I just want to say it's really good to be back here after a couple weeks off. I miss looking at my man Shane, the floor manager, most excellent. I was looking for people who would count me down in my life, but it didn't happen, Shane. So everyone's hungering for answers, and NEOtropolis has them. Tonight's episode is called Taste and Place. Joining me now is a new NEOtropolis contributor, Stacy Shelton. Hi, Stacy.
Hey there.
Welcome to NEOtropolis.
Thank you.
Glad that you're here. So tonight, we're going to talk about technology, how it relates to food, kind of how we deal with our food. Right. And I called it Taste and Place. What does that make you think of?
First thing I thought of was grocery stores.
Grocery stores, meaning like a list and going shopping and
like those self-checkouts?
Oh, that's a heavy technology, right?
It is.
There's all kinds of coding and stuff that goes into those.
Lots of programming, lots of coding, a little inconvenient at times.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I put on the thing on the scale and then put it in the bag, and it tells me I need to remove it.
Right.
Like it's accusing me of stealing.
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah. So you looked up some facts about those things. What can you tell us?
I did. About 2008, there were about 90,000 of these in use. That's actually expected to mushroom to about 430,000 by 2014. So lots of growth in that.
Yeah, definitely. But how are people dealing with them? I mean, are people responding?
People are using them a little bit less, actually. So 3 years ago, that was about 22% of people used them in the stores where they were available, and that's down to about 16% now. So.
What about some other technology and how it relates to food? I mean, social media, there's a lot of stuff out there,
Yeah, so tons of social media, actually. There are tons and tons of apps, so people can interact with restaurants via Yelp and get recommendations from friends, or there's apps like Food Spotting, or have you heard about Pinterest?
I have not. What's Pinterest?
So Pinterest is a virtual pin board, and so lots of people use it to pin recipes and share information on food. So I actually have a board called Eat, where I share all of the recipes that I like.
I could go to Pinterest and find your page, and you tell me about what's your favorite recipe.
Oh my God! So anything with a cocktail, but we won't talk about that.
Yes, this is a university show. We have to be careful. So this social media, it takes technology and turns it into a way to relate to food, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's good. Do we have a question for folks tonight to think about during the show?
Actually, we do. We want to know how any kind of new technology affects how you eat, cook, or relate to food.
So we want to get examples from you right here in Northeast Ohio and tell us what's on your mind throughout the show. Thanks, Stacy. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you at the end of the show.
Yep.
Okay. Here's how you can contribute your thoughts tonight.
Be part of the conversation. Follow us on Twitter at NEOtropolis TV and on Facebook, YouTube, and Google+. When you visit neotropolis.org, check out the archives and sign up for our e-newsletter.
So Stacy and I were talking about how people approach food, and I want to introduce you to a chef I met, Brian Doyle. His business is called So Food, and he's all about starting his cuisine right in the basement next to his washer and dryer with seeds that grow into natural, healthy food he prepares for us to eat. Plus, he's found a way to apply the force of social media and technology to pull it all together. Let's take a look.
the world, the earth, our bodies. It's all connected. It's all one system, really. This is all compost from last year. They're a specific kind of egg. They call them the blue egg.
NEOtropolis is about the forces of technology and how they impact our day-to-day life. Do you use technology in order to help you grow and manage your business?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, and we're always trying to leverage modern technology and, utilize it and combine it with, low-tech, old technology, and farming and cooking, does both of those things. The Twitter, we've given that example. It's a way to connect with the rest of the world. It's a way to tell your story. And we feel that the story is really important.
So here we are with Brian. He's going to give us a demo of kind of how he does stuff. And you're also going to tweet during this demonstration because the use of that social media and the use of technology is really important to him. So go ahead, Brian. Take us into the food.
In the spring is when asparagus is at its peak. And local asparagus is really, really the supply is really good. And we grow asparagus too on our farm. What I'm going to do is a really nice quick recipe with asparagus. And I cut off the bottom ends. I can save this for soup, or what I'm going to do with this is compost it. What we'll do with this is we will add a little bit of chopped garlic. And this is garlic from our farm from last year. And you plant garlic in the fall, and then the shoots come up in the spring. You don't start all seeds in this manner. Some you prefer they should be sown outside in the garden. Mm-hmm. But for the season, you want to get some things started ahead of time, like this broccoli. And generally speaking, you sow about 2 to 3 in each cell. Well, we're going to grill this, and the olive oil is going to help make it so that it doesn't stick to the grill and it gives it flavor. So I'm going to put salt and pepper in with the olive oil. I like to use fresh ground pepper and fresh ground salt. Just toss this.
So let's talk about these massive amounts of avocado pits. Right,
so I have like 1,000 avocado pits here that I got from Momocho in Ohio City, which is a well-known modern Mexican restaurant. And I texted Eric Williams a few weeks ago, and I said, how do you feel about me intercepting all of the avocado pits that you'll throw away each week? And instead, what I'll do is I'll take them and grow them into houseplants. And we'll sell them as Momocho branded houseplants. The asparagus is going to get grilled, and I have an indoor grill. Just lay it right on there. And the good thing about an indoor grill is it's not going to fall through. You just kind of let those get a little bit blistery. They take about 2 to 3 minutes or so to finish grilling. So while the asparagus is grilling, I'm going to do a quick tweet. This is how we do it every day when we're cooking in the kitchen. We kind of play around with both things, and I'm a big fan of doing this. So I use TweetDeck, and I'm going to tweet out to my Twitter followers that NEOtropolis is in the house.
It's the global nature of education about food.
Right. Yeah. And Cleveland has such a representation of many different cultures, and we as a caterer, I like to cook different cultures and learn from the people that I encounter, and they teach me things about their culture through their food, and that's a connection as human beings, whether we can even speak the language or not. That connects us immediately. Sure. Food is a powerful connector. What I'm going to do then is fry an egg to put on top of the asparagus. I belong to a herd share, which means that I pay shares to own part of a herd so that I can get fresh butter and cream and milk. Then I have these eggs. These are called Americana. Through marketing, they've started calling them Americanas. Funny thing about cholesterol is that it's not really actually bad for you. It's oxidized cholesterol that's bad for you. And our standard American diet really has a lot of oxidized cholesterol involved. Now, I'm no nutritionist, but I do pay attention to what food does to us on a biological level, and I can tell you that an egg, a farm fresh egg like this, is good for you. We're into the worms taking care of what needs to be done. We're a part of the process of, the growing is going to start now, and when we're cultivating the vegetables and getting them to start, being a part of that brings you closer to the earth. And, technology is a fun part of our lives, and it plays an important part of our lives, but it's good to get back to the earth. Being a part of that process does something to your soul. You know, they're pretty small, but this is still edible. It's good. It's really sweet. So what we're going to do is plate this. I would eat this for breakfast or just as a snack, as a lunch. That egg right over top. We feel that the story is really important. What you do is so important to people, and why you're doing it is so important. Especially in today's marketplace, people are making those choices based on your story, often. And we just love, doing what we do for the sake of, better community. The finishing touch for this dish is a little bit of fresh lemon juice.
I'm going to enjoy some of this fresh prepared food, very simple food, but as Brian tells us, it's really all about the fresh and the taking part in like the natural rhythm of things. I love that he talks about this natural rhythm of food. That lemon just has that little bit of difference. That's really good. That's really good. Cool stuff. I really enjoyed meeting Brian, and thanks to Larry Baker for shooting and putting together such a nice piece. Of course, I was the only one who got to try Brian's food. Maybe next time, Larry, I'll share, but probably not. Now let's get down to it with Dr. Dave, NEOtropolis' own cultural anthropologist. I love having a show anthropologist. I don't think 60 Minutes has one.
Oh, no.
All right, so we do. So what I'd like to do is start with this sense of cross-cultural relationship to food. Can you unpack that a little bit to us?
Yeah, I think starting with the universal, and universally, food is profoundly significant to human beings, individual human beings, societies, populations within societies. Through food, we exist in a state of union with the natural world, the social world that produces that food. We construct our identities around food. Think of the significance of food in holidays, in religious traditions. And anthropologists the world over find that wherever they are, breaking bread with other human beings is an important social and even spiritual event. And if you think about it in Western traditions, there are a lot of Western traditions that refer to it as communion. So
absolutely.
Universally, food is really something to our kind.
Absolutely, and I wish I had a little bowl of nuts here to share with you.
You will Gibbons the second here, huh? If people remember that.
But let's talk for a minute then about
Go ahead.
About technology and how it affects our relationship to food, because you're talking about the universal and how wonderful it is that we can share in a communion of sorts.
Yes.
But that's not how all of our food relationship is.
Yeah, that's right. Against that universal backcloth, every society has a culturally mediated relationship to food. And you can look at food as a window onto an entire socio-cultural system. Technology plays a profound role in bringing food to our tables, in the production, distribution, and consumption of food. Technology gives us food out of season. Yeah. It gives us food that looks great even when it's not, through dye injections.
That's a tomato that you can hardly taste anything.
Yes,
right. But it looks red. I mean, it's ridiculous.
In fact, technology is bringing us cloned food to our tables, whether we realize it or not all the time.
So what does that mean to us, though? What does that mean to us in Northeast Ohio? Is there a response we should have, or is there some way to negotiate that?
There are not so many things, of course, to think about here. But one of the things, in terms of even tonight's segment, you were talking about those cash. What do you call those things anyway?
Self-checkout.
Self-checkout things. Man, these are an abomination in a place like Northeast Ohio. They're the end product in a process that brings food to the table, I guess, or not quite the end product, but nearly. But you've got to put everything in context. And boy, it saves somebody 10 seconds or 3 minutes. But in the whole world, no population has been so kicked in the teeth, in the groin, and in the rear end simultaneously as the population of the formerly industrial Midwest and Northeast Ohio in particular. Every one of those things puts a person out of jobs.
Oh, okay. All right, there you go.
That's where I'm coming. It puts somebody out of a job.
If I want
It saves the corporation a fortune in wages,
right.
And it saves the consumer 10 seconds or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But we're not just consumers, we're citizens.
Right.
And Luke, I want to follow that up, if I may, that it's important not only that people see technology in context and our actions in context. You and I have talked on this show about mindfulness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's it cost to save a minute in line?
You've also talked about the unintended consequences,
Yes,
or what
of technology, the latent functions of technology.
Latent functions,
yeah.
but I don't want to make this just technology is bad, and I know that's not what you're saying.
No, it's not.
But there has to be a mindfulness about how we relate to
technology. Is not just technological; it's social and it's cultural and it's moral. And when we lose sight of that, then technology, the tail wags the dog.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you had something in your Wheaties this morning. You're coming on. I love that energy.
I missed the interaction.
You missed the interaction.
Yeah.
Good. Finally, though, talk to me about you mentioned the speed of eating and stuff. But is there some way that you consider technology or the accoutrements of technology to be able to help us relate to food better?
Technology to help us relate to food better. Boy, I don't know. One of the problems, actually, in the history of food and technology in the world has been the assumption that food scarcity is a technological function, and of course it's not. Every population of humans has known how to produce food for about 10,000 years now.
Yeah.
It's a problem of distribution.
Yeah.
Land distribution of the food that's grown on the land.
We're going to have to pick up.
It?
We're going to have to pick up right there on distribution another
fast.
time.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Day.
Luke.
That was an enlightening interlude as always.
Thanks, man.
One of the issues Dr. Dave and I just touched on was distribution of food in the world, how global politics, other kinds of circumstances are part of a system where many go hungry while comparatively few grow fat. Tonight on our What's the Big Idea segment, NEOtropolis contributor Craig James talks about one way, vertical farming, that just might help address this awful situation.
Food, local food. There's been a lot of talk about it these days, and restaurateurs refer to it as farm to table. But it's not such a new idea after all. We've been doing local food for a long time, and it looks something like this. You walk out your back door, go to the farm, work on your farm, harvest your food, come on in, prepare a meal, eat, go to sleep, repeat. Well, the Industrial Revolution changed everything. You see, we became really great at mass producing and standardizing all kinds of stuff. Steel, cars, computers, and yes, food too. As a matter of fact, here in Akron, Ohio, that's exactly what happened in 1850, right over there. Those silos, Quaker Oats, started mass producing and distributing one singular food product. But see, this is where it gets a little bit weird. In spite of all that production and all that efficiency, there's still 1 billion people going hungry. And every single day, 40,000 kids die of starvation. 40,000. A progressive field's worth of kids every day. And it gets weirder yet. Guess what? We throw away 50% of the food we produce. Why? Well, in large part, it has to do with distribution. You see, 70% of the cost of producing food has to do with transportation, storage, and distribution. See, that's not good for, well, first of all, the economy. Secondly, it's not good for the food itself. We're throwing half of it out. And thirdly, it's not good for the environment because we're shipping this stuff around. Okay, but there's good news. See, there's an invention called vertical farming. So imagine for a moment, this building is a farm. There's all kinds of advantages. First of all, you've got a controlled environment, no pests or pesticides, limited distribution, 7x24 light, and what's more, with other inventions like aeroponics, which is plants without soil or water, we can get 10 times the yield of a typical farm, and we can take this stuff into space, in theory. So, therefore, this building alone could feed 50,000 people. Amazing. So, what's old is new again, right? Walk out your back door, and you have a farm. I'm Craig James in Akron, Ohio.
Thank you, Craig, for that piece. If you want more information, go to catstrat.com. It seems like abundance is kind of a double-edged sword. We have so much, and really what that means is we are called upon to do much. And if you have any ideas about what we should cover on future NEOtropolis episodes about how Northeast Ohio is using technology to address global issues around food, please let me know, and we'll see if you can't produce a piece of it with your help as a viewer, contributor, and associate producer. Now, let's take a look at a clip from a NEOtropolis piece about another aspect of food. I'll call it emotional farming. Here's Jennifer Boresz.
We're here at the Chef's Garden in Huron, and chefs from all around the world rely on them for fresh produce just like this. And the farming techniques they use here are definitely not business as usual.
The Chef's Garden is a family farm that grows and markets gourmet vegetables, herbs, and greens by working directly with chefs.
Our whole emphasis is on sustainably grown vegetables and trying to work in harmony with nature rather than trying to outsmart it.
It all started decades ago when Lee and his brother Bobby were helping their father, Bob Jones, on the family farm.
We began by selling very locally, to farmers markets. Each one of us took a truck. We had absolutely no money, and we had some old junk trucks that we never knew whether we were going to make it. We didn't buy a license plate for 5 years because we couldn't afford them. We always made sure we had a lot of mud on the license plates.
For years, they had farmed in a conventional way, but after losing a significant amount of crops after a strong hailstorm in the 80s, the Joneses had to be resilient and kept plowing ahead.
My father told me, he died when I was very, very young, but one of the few pieces of advice he gave me was that I wish you eternal dissatisfaction. And for a long time, I never understood that. But I've come to understand that that's really what life is about.
You know, we just heard it's really all about finding meaning in what you do that makes for a satisfying life. If you want to see the whole piece on Chef's Garden, go to neotropolis.org and you'll find it there. Next is a story of a guy who loves to make soup for folks in downtown Akron using fish tank technology and a measure of personal belief in fresh food.
Hi, I'm Erin Ludlam, and today I am at the Stew Pot Kitchen in downtown Akron. What am I doing? Well, I'm about to have some soup. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're a lovely girl, but why do I care what you're having for lunch? Well, I'm about to show you why part of what's in this soup that actually came out of a basement is one of the freshest lunch options around. So, as promised, we are in the basement with owner of the Stew Pot Kitchen, Scott Malinsick. So explain what's happening here, because there are bubbles and colors and tanks and things, and it doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem right.
Basically what we've got going on is I've got tilapia and goldfish and some algae eaters in a big fish tank here, and their waste gets converted to ammonia by bacteria that are in the tank, and then other bacteria convert the ammonia into nitrites, and then a third type of bacteria convert the nitrites into nitrates. And then every 2 hours for about 15 minutes, a pump comes on and pumps water from here into this grow bed, and that water has the nitrates in it, which is plant fertilizer. So the plants clean up the water then. They use up all the nitrates, and clean water comes down through those two hoses and goes back on into here. So the fish are feeding the plants, and the plants are cleaning the water for the fish.
What's actually sprouted? What is this? Onions? It looks like onions.
Yeah, yellow onions. When I got the hydroton, I put the onions in there on, I think it was Friday.
Hydroton.
That's these little clay balls.
Ooh, what are these for?
This is another spot for bacteria to grow. But the bacteria can grow in these. These just hold water.
And we want bacteria in these too?
Absolutely. Now, if I have this stuff set up outside and I am constantly flowing it with water, yeah, it'll grow. It'll grow really fast. I had a tomato plant that I grew out of a bucket from a seed, and it was 11 feet before we took it outside, and that was in 1 month.
All right, so we're back from the basement. This is other things that we've gathered. There are some things from the basement,
This is the making of tomato basil soup. The green onions are you might recognize from the basement. On a really good day, I will literally go out to my car, turn it on, walk out to the garden, pull out some basil, pull out some tomatoes, and that's my stuff. That's my soup.
All right, so what are we making?
Well, this is, like I said, tomato basil soup. And basically all we're going to do is puree some tomatoes and put in some fresh basil from the hydroponics that's up front. And to add a little bit of sweetness, we'll put in some carrots. We'll add a little bit more savoriness. We'll put in some celery and a little bit of onion.
So how did this idea come about exactly? I mean, as far as using your own produce, was this a necessity or was this an actual genius idea you had?
I wish I could say it was a genius idea, but
you could.
Becca would hit me. And no, it's part of the whole idea of the stew pot.
I think it is interesting because your price is fairly comparable with pretty much any fast food almost. I mean,
We're pretty much the lowest, I think.
Yeah, well, as far as local restaurants,
Yeah.
certainly,
Yeah.
absolutely. Is this partially why
This
you're
is
able
it.
to do
This
that?
is
This
why.
is the entire reason.
Yeah. This is why. I mean, we grow our stuff, and that's that. And because we grow our own, we're able to control that we get the best food, that we get the best herbs, the most flavorful orange or tomatoes and what have you. I mean, I grow it. I know that I'm growing really good stuff. You're not stuck getting something that's been on a train for 1,500 miles, which is the average distance any item of food has traveled.
Right. So there you go. Local produce grown in a bucket, not only feeding a community, but supporting small business. That's right. Vegetables, you know it, they are superfoods. I said it. It's true.
Nice. Thanks to Todd V for that piece on soup, fresh soup, not canned. You know, I had a chance to think about fresh food a lot while putting the show together. You know, we're all really at a fork in the road. On the one hand, we know all about organic and eating well, paying attention. But on the other hand, we have these habits of easy meals and fast food. I know about eating healthy and eating in season, supporting local farms, but sometimes I just don't do it. A friend of mine told me about his annual tofu turkey and fresh root vegetable stew he serves for Thanksgiving. All I could think about was a mouth-watering, steroid-enhanced butterball bird. Now technology and the web make the information about healthy eating and local food easy to get. What we do with it is a different story. Now, pass the antioxidants and fetch me a tall glass of carrot beet juice. Back now with Stacy Shelton to tie all this taste and place stuff together, like maybe a dessert of creme brulee.
Sounds good.
All right. What did we hear from people?
All right, we had a couple good responses. Faith said it's great to be able to go online and check out restaurants and menus, especially when you're traveling. Todd said that he felt like being able to review restaurants empowered him and helped him support local businesses.
Yeah. So people understand that social media can be an assistance, right, for this this relationship to food that we have. What's your take on, I mean, what would you say is the best thing about, like, Pinterest for you?
For Pinterest, for me, it's like finding things that are easy and convenient, even though we talked about how that's not always the best thing, but it helps me, it shortens my time to find, like, the best recipe, and people have tried it out and tested it, so I don't have to waste time that way.
Right, right. Well, I really appreciate you being here, Stacy.
Thanks.
Nice new contributor to NEOtropolis, and we'll see you soon.
Yep.
Okay? So that's it for our look at some of the impacts that technology has had on food culture here in Northeast Ohio. If you have any ideas or what we should cover on future episodes of NEOtropolis, how technology and global forces impact your daily life, get in touch at neotropolis.org or leave a comment on Facebook. Next week, Entrepreneurs, I'm Luke Frazier. See you next time.
Funding for NEOtropolis has been provided by the following.
My sister is incredible.
You wouldn't believe what my sister's doing.
She works at MSNBC.com.
She's a nurse.
She helps deliver online news to the world.
She goes out and helps homeless veterans.
She's amazing.
She's an angel.
I've always known Gina was ambitious, but she found her true sense of purpose.
Joan really found direction.
At Kent State.
At Kent State.
My name is Joan Stykes-Jenkins.
And I'm Gina Stykes-Schuhalter.
And we're proud graduates of Kent State University.
The John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, supporting transformational ideas that promote informed and engaged communities.